All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to be hearing from Sophia Lee from Citrus College, and she will be sharing information from her blog, our recently published blog, 360-degree Whiteboards, an equity strategy to improve outcomes in pre-calculus. So I will drop a link to the blog in the chat in just a minute. Sophia's going to take over from here, and I'll come back at the end just for a quick wrap up. We are recording this session, and it will be available right inside the blog link. So if you want to go back to it later, you'll be able to find a link to the recording as well as any of the materials that we're using today. I will be sending out an email with a link to that, as well as a very brief evaluation survey. If you could fill that out, that would be super helpful for us. And thank you all for being here. And I'm going to hand it over to Sophia.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sophia Lee, and I am from Citrus College. And I'm so thankful that you're able to join me today for this webinar. I'm so excited to share a game changer for me, an absolute game changer that I love so much. It has really created a new passion for me in my teaching. So I'm really glad you guys are here. And if you're not a math instructor, I want to emphasize that you can actually apply this strategy in so many different ways. And I'm really excited to show you two different modalities that you can actually apply 360-degree whiteboards. As you see in this picture, this is like an in-person classroom. So this is a window into one of the modalities, which is actually the in-person face-to-face classroom, which I will talk about. But let's talk about the current situation. A lot of us are still teaching online. So I do want to talk about a second modality, which is actually using this similar idea. You get the same benefits, and you can actually replicate the 360-degree whiteboards in an online learning environment. And the best part is that you guys are going to be able to try this so that later when we talk about the benefits of the 360-degree whiteboards, you'll have already experienced a little taste of that. So I am going to go ahead and put a link in the chat. This is going to be a link to this Google slide that you're going to see in a moment. So go ahead and click on the link in the chat. And you will go ahead and pull up a Google Slides document. And so I wanted to start today off just with the very first column of these digital whiteboards. So if you go into slide number 2, you're going to just see a quick example. We are going to start right here, just in questions 1 and 2. And we're going to save question 3 and 4 till after the presentation. So if you can, go ahead and scroll down and grab one of these blank slides that are available for you. So again, go ahead and grab a slide. You can put your name on the top right. So this is just a sample on slide number 2. And I would like to know, please share your title and the college you are from. So that's going to be question number 1 over here on the top left. And then question number 2, I wanted to get a feel for the crowd. And today I am going to be talking to you about my transition from being a full lecturer to teaching in an active learning classroom. So hold on. So everyone's actually going to grab their own slides. So go ahead over to slide number 3, slide number 4, slide number 5 to grab your own individual slide. And you do want to put your name on the top right. And something really cool you can do is, if you take a look at this blank space, you can go ahead and utilize this insert button image, you can even search the web, and you can go ahead and give us a glimpse of your campus. I know we all miss being on campus, so it's kind of nice to see either your campus or your school logo or something to personalize your own personal digital whiteboard space. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic for about 2 minutes. I'm going to let you guys go ahead and fill out questions 1 and 2. And please feel free to scroll around once you're finished. That's the fun part. You're going to get to see who else is in the room. And also take a look at question number 2, the responses from the rest of the group. So question number 2 is, oh, so sorry, this slide, we're just going to keep it here as the example. You want to go ahead and grab a separate slide, a blank slide that has no name on it. In question number 2, I want to know, based on your experience, you might be a faculty right now, and just a general outline of your typical class day. And I want to give you an example that I used to start class with like a 10-minute individual quiz. And then I would go straight into like an hour-and-a-half lecture, and then lecture till the end, and then I would let the students go. So I was just wondering, based on your experience, what do you think a typical math class looks like? It could be your class that you teach, or what you've experienced in your schooling. So I am going to go ahead and mute my mic for 2 minutes starting right now. All right, hello everybody, welcome back, and thank you so much for your input for questions number 1 and 2. I love scrolling around and seeing who's in the room. I see Modesto Junior College is here. I see Los Medanos, hi Myra, is here. I see Mesa Community College is here. And I'm also looking at some of your answers for question number 2. And I hope you guys have looked around as well, to see, how often you see lecture as still dominant in most STEM courses. And I'm going to show you guys how I kind of transitioned from a lecture into some of these other great responses. I'm seeing some of these slides with a lot of group work. I am starting to notice like Mr. Matsumoto from College of the Canyons. I'm starting to notice a lot more student-centered work. But yet we still have a lot of lecture, a lot of notes, and a lot of individual high stakes assessments. So again, take this opportunity to kind of glance around. I'm noticing from Los Angeles Mission College, Yoon shares a self-quiz, review, lecture, and group work. This seems like a pretty good mix, right, of lecture, some individual work, and also some group work. So I definitely feel for you guys when in my transition from 1.0 version of my course to 2.0, and I'm really excited to share 3.0 of my active learning classroom. So let's go ahead and get back so I can show you guys exactly what the classroom looks like. We are going to come back to this Google slide in a moment. So I know you guys are excited to try this with more questions. So if we go ahead and look at me when I first started at Citrus, not even that long ago. I first started at Citrus in 2016, where I mainly taught Calculus 1 and Calculus 2 there for 2 years. And this picture right here was exactly me standing at the front of the room. I was so nervous for content coverage that I didn't even give quizzes. I literally lectured for 2 hours straight with a break in between. With no group work, no collaboration, and really just me being the sage on the stage. And this was only 5 years ago. I started, writing on the board, and I would turn around and this is what I would see day after day. And, I'd have those enthusiastic students in the front, but what about that back row? What about those students far off to the sides? I started thinking, is this, could the traditional lecture be unfair, unjust, or inequitable? These questions started popping into my head on who is really benefiting the most and who are we forgetting and who is falling through the cracks. At the same time, I started learning more about long-standing equity gaps for women and students of color. These types of students often report a lack of a sense of belonging and feelings of isolation as one of the main reasons for leaving STEM. So as you can see, I was learning so much about what it meant to be equity-minded, what it meant to be student-centered. Some of the other research that I started learning about was the idea of active learning. It really came to me the first time I heard about this term. And a lot of it was through CAP. Some of the first conferences that I attended for CAP, I started learning about Think, Pair, Share. I started learning about Gallery Walk and the research behind it, and how there's an abundance of proof that active learning is more effective than traditional lectures. And that issue of equity comes into play, where active learning has been shown to have greater educational gains for exactly these underrepresented student groups, such as women, minorities, low income, and first generation college students. So I knew I had to do something different. Right, I knew what was happening at that moment when I was looking at my students day after day, and I just wasn't reaching the entire spectrum of the students, having that all-inclusive learning environment. I knew I wasn't reaching that. And so I've definitely switched over. And I think that Dewey puts it very, very nicely, where he says, education is not an affair of telling and being told, but an active and constructive process. So this really shows like a transition from 1.0 of my teaching to 2.0, which I'll show you exactly what I mean. At the same time, when I was learning a lot about active learning, I came across this image, and this one just stuck in my head, and I just couldn't get it out. And I loved this image so much that I even put it in my syllabus for my students to see. And this is a triangle produced by the National Training Laboratories. And they put the percentages of how much of the material that students retain after 2 weeks. And I worked so hard prepping my calculus lectures so that students would only retain 5% of it. So all of this was compounding, and I knew that I had to do something different. That's when I started to see the benefits of group discussion, practice, and also teaching others. This whole idea of participatory teaching methods instead of me at the front doing these passive teaching methods. And so a big part of today is really showing you guys how to do this effectively. Because I think when I first saw this triangle, I wasn't sure how I was going to do this. Like, how do you get students to teach each other, right? You can ask them to, you can give them extra credit, you can, try to nudge them and tell them how good it is for them, but how do you really make it effective so that they will get the practice, they will get the group discussion, and they will teach others effectively? Well, what do, right? As teachers, we're at the boards. So what better way to allow them to teach each other than give students their own whiteboards where they can do the teaching? And so this is where it all compounded, and it was really timing as well, where the whiteboards had come into play with our dean, Michael Wangler. At that time, we were able to get whiteboards on all four sides of the room, which was my favorite part of our new classrooms, and they're very affordable and a lot of gains. So here is 1.0 of my journey at Citrus College. This was just in 2016, again, not very long ago. I started realizing I needed to do more. So I started giving an individual quiz, pretty much an hour and a half lecture or an hour still. But then I let them, work on some problems in kind of random, in groups or in pairs, whatever they wanted. And then now in version 3.0, I'm really excited to share how we've really honed in on with our co-requisite courses the last 3 years, how I've gone ahead and evolved the review quiz into more of a collaborative think, pair, share to review the previous day's material. I've actually completely replaced lectures and I introduce new material now using a 360-degree whiteboard session. And then finally, we do have notes, guided notes for students, and it really recaps our 360-degree whiteboard session so that they have something concrete to take home. And so it's really transitioned over to this final version, and I can really never go back. And I'm really excited to share the journey with you guys and the pictures that I've been taking so that, because I just got way too excited and I saw the magic happening every day. So I am going to start off with the first part of class where I usually review material from the previous day. And this really looks like what a lot of faculty know, which is think, pair, share, where students work alone for a few minutes. They can either pair up and then you have a class-wide discussion. But as you know, there's a lot of negatives to it where you're going to have the same students talking. Students can't even see each other's work, especially if they're facing each other. The paper is literally upside down. How are they going to be able to see where the mistakes are? And so in this version of Think, Pair, Share with 360-degree whiteboards, the idea is that students first work alone, but then what we do is we give the entire group one marker. And one student will pretty much hold the marker and teach it to the rest of the class, just like you saw in that pyramid, how they retain 90% of what they teach. And the beauty of this is that sometimes the person holding the marker might get stuck somewhere or doesn't know how to start. And it's so organic that the rest of the classmates instantly jump in and help and pretty much do the teaching back, vice versa. It's not always the person holding the marker who's really doing the teaching. So it works really beautifully. This solution on the board really becomes a collaborative solution. And my favorite part is once the groups start putting their solutions on the board, you get this huge conversation going, wider, bigger than the group itself. You're looking across the room, checking your answers, because I don't actually give them the answers. They have to seek the answers from looking at other groups. So some beautiful things have happened during these times when, if there was 4 groups or 5 groups in all, half of them have x equals 5, the other half has x equals 10. They start a huge conversation, a huge debate, and I'm just there facilitating, watching. And it's really a joy to see them participate and engage with the material that way. To make this strategy a little more equitable, because we don't want the same student always holding the marker in every group. On the next problem that we work on with Think, Pair, Share, I do have the students pass the marker. So in the next round, he would go ahead and stand and work on the board, hold the marker and teach it to the rest of the group. Then in the third problem, she would stand and hold the marker and teach the problem to the rest of the group. And we've always heard that there's a lot of groups who finish faster. And the problem is they just sit there and they're on their cell phones. That doesn't happen in my class, because as soon as I see a group is finished, I go over there, I commend them on their work, I encourage leadership in them, and I let them know, oh, look at that group. I think they're still struggling on that first line or second line. And it doesn't take a lot of nudging. They instantly want to help other groups, because they get so excited that they understood the material, and they know that teaching others is what helps them learn. So it's really beautiful to see. This is all aligned with research done by Peter Liljeta. This is an infographic made for a math class on vertical non-permanent surfaces. So it's very similar. They have a group of 3 here on a vertical whiteboard with 1 marker per group. Very important that it's erasable, so that students are not afraid to make mistakes, knowing it can be easily swiped away. Whereas on paper, as you know, if you don't have a good eraser, they don't want to write anything down that they're going to need to end up erasing. And some of the characteristics that he found was that students write down, they're thinking faster. That's huge. How many times have we asked students to do a task and they just kind of sit there not sure what to do on their papers? But that doesn't happen with the whiteboards, because they know it can be easily erased. They are more eager to participate. There's more discussion, and they end up persevering through difficult challenges, knowing that they can look around the room for support and help at any moment. There's non-linearity of work. So you'll see students like proving trig identities. They'll start from the end, work their way up, start from the top, work their way down, meet in the middle. I definitely see a lot more of that on the whiteboards. And my favorite is mobility of knowledge. So you're not just working within one little group. It's really a really effective class-wide discussion where they are communicating with other groups. The second activity that we do is where I actually introduce new material. And this is probably the most fascinating to people. Like, how is this possible to not lecture? How do they know how to do it if you don't show it to them? So in our class, I don't show it to them. I put the problem on the board and I walk away. And then I see what happens, and it kind of depends what happens next. Sometimes I will have one student who gets the first line, and I direct everybody to that student, and they really start that whole process of teaching each other multiple times throughout the class period. And of course, I will give hints as well if I see students who are struggling, and I give them the opportunity to teach that to somebody else. This is what it looks like. This is just a really quick video of students working on a challenging quadratic function with a baseball. And so this is what it would look like, where students are looking around the room, they're boxing their answers, because I don't give them the solution. So they do have to look around it almost forces them to look around the room to see if they got it correctly. This student with the hat here traveled over from the other wall, possibly to help others or because he needed help. It really just provides the help really steps away, so that they're not struggling, to understand a concept. They can really just get the help instantly. And so I've noticed very similar characteristics such as Liljeta. You are going to see students looking around the room and receiving instant help and support if they are stuck, because they get to look around the room for hints. Students write down their thinking faster. And my favorite one is that they're not afraid to make mistakes. So I've definitely observed these characteristics in my class. For the last part of the day, as you know, the whiteboards, it's erased afterwards. So I do want them to practice what we practice on the whiteboard one more time in our guided notes. And the idea of backwards design is actually incorporated kind of in the whiteboard session too. And it's a really simple concept of starting with good problems. That's all it is. And the reason why it's called backwards design is that a lot of times the textbook publishers put these application problems at the end of a section or at the end of a chapter even. It'll be like a whole chapter on trig functions, and then the very last section of the chapter is applications. And we always start with a culturally application to begin with. So it's not much work. If you notice, this is the traditional textbook version where they start with something very conceptual. Students often think that, this is very abstract, a little bit scary even. Then they work on a lot of drill problems, and then they don't even have time for an application. But in our class, we put that application right up front. So we're talking about baby birth weights, and babies having an average birth weight of 8.2. And I would ask them later after practicing problems, what case 1, case 2, case 3, would the baby birth weights fall under? Would it be these two birth weights? Would it be a range of baby birth weights? Or would it be this situation? And I'll hear students get so excited, like there's no way babies can weigh infinity pounds. They really make sense of the material because they have some type of context to understand case 1, case 2, and case 3. So I see them get very excited while they're working on the notes because we put that context right up front, that real life application. And this is similar to what I would do on the 360-degree whiteboard session. I would introduce the problem with an application. We'll probably do a couple of drill problems, and then we'll summarize all the important concepts before the students sit back down to work on their notes. So based on this lesson cycle, they get introduced to the material during the whiteboard session. They work on it one more time in the notes. They hit it again in the homework. And that topic is hit one more time the next day. So they're really hitting a topic 4 times. And don't forget, they're teaching each other as well. So you can guess how great they are at mastering the material in our co-rec classes. They've really mastered sinusoidal functions after working on it 4 times. And the data shows that what we're doing is working pretty well. This is from fall 2020 data. On the first column, you're going to see the traditional pre-calculus course with a success rate of 57%, and our co-rec pre-calculus courses had a success rate of 63%. But what's even more exciting about this data is that we've actually done a progression study from our fall 2019 students, and we've actually found that they're actually completing Calculus 1. These 2 groups are completing at the same rate. So those who were considered underprepared are actually completing calculus at the same rate as those who are considered prepared. So we definitely are excited for some of the progression studies that we're seeing, the results that we're seeing. Other results that we're excited by is just pure enrollment, letting them in, right? Having an open access pre-calculus course. Latinx enrollment has grown 2.8 times from 2015 to 2020 at 247. And one of the really exciting gaps that we've closed is actually the representation of Latinx students in our STEM courses is now 64% Latinx, whereas the total overall student enrollment of Latinx is 65% at the campus. So very excited for the representation of Latinx students in our STEM program. But you can let them into an open access pre-calculus class, but are they completing? And we're really excited to report that Latinx student completion for pre-calculus is almost 2.4 times greater. So it went from 61 students completing pre-calculus and to 145 Latinx students completing pre-calculus. So we're really excited that this style of teaching is working well for our students of color. So I know you guys are excited to talk about that second modality. We have the in-person modality of 360-degree whiteboards that I showed you in the video, but we've been in a pandemic, right? So we've been using a very similar replicated teaching style online using Google Slides, and it has absolutely worked beautifully. Each student, just like you guys had tried on our activity for today, each student actually gets their own slide. I do color code them so that, orange will represent group 2, purple will represent group 3. I usually have a check-in question. This question, and I will show you this document from this exact slide. So this was in week 4. I usually show them like some type of video at the beginning that we can incorporate. This is Grit by Angela Duckworth. I have the schedule, and our check-in question for this day was, what is your dream job? And so we would do think, pair, share, and students would actually put a little photo of their dream job. So that was really fun. Robotics, I believe this was mechanical engineering, artificial intelligence, and students are able to work in very much the same way as the 360-degree whiteboards in person. All the benefits are still there because they can scroll to see other students' slides, and they can get hints if they're stuck. And I definitely go around, I make comments, I highlight students' work, and students are able to highlight when they get stuck somewhere. So let's say they were stuck at a step, they would actually go and highlight it in red, and I would be able to see that right away. So see that red dot popped up as I'm scrolling, I'm able to come and help them right away. I can hop into their breakout rooms and help them out with wherever that they highlighted. And the cool thing is that the activity that we're working on today, that can be a template for you. You can completely steal this. I got this from Kathleen Beachboard. I first saw this on Edutopia and I loved this idea. She called it digital desks. So this is just an adaptation of it. So go ahead and feel free to copy paste the slide that you're working on right now in our activity. So if you have, say, Tina, thank you for putting your photo, Tina. This is now on the Google Slides activity sheet. Feel free to copy this entire slide, and then you can copy paste it just like we did today, how I copied about 17, 18 slides for you guys. So use it. You can use it in math classes. You can use it in English classes. You can use it in so many different ways, and the students love it. They really get a chance to connect with each other, and you're going to experience that in a moment as well. So let me drop the link in the chat one more time, because we are going to head into our last questions, number 3 and 4. So let me copy paste. And so I do this with my students as well. I go ahead and copy paste that link into the chat. In this last 1 minute, I want to show you how much I've loved using Google Slides, that I've been using it across the board. So I showed you my student work when we were working on domain and range graphing. I used Google Slides. I also use Google Slides in all my meetings. So this is actually our pre-calculus community of practice meeting. So this was just our very past meeting on October 15th. I asked them, what is your favorite color and why? Just kind of like as an opener. I have our schedule of meetings for the semester, our agenda, and then each community of practice member gets their own slide. And on the top, they kind of do an image of their favorite color. And I asked the question for week 8, give us a glow from the week and also a grow from the week. So something that they want to improve on. And my favorite part about our meetings is this column right here. This is when we can have those little side conversations. One of our pre-calculus instructors is retiring. So the other instructor, Robert, gave her a little cake. He pasted it on her a Google slide. And, I'm able to comment, and we're able to bond this way. We told her COP is not going to be the same without her. We're just able to share a lot with each other, and it feels like we're together. I shared that we're working remotely, so I started having neck pain, and I got all the comments from my COP members, take breaks. My coworker says his wrist hurts and recommended a mouse. We definitely have a lot of collaboration using Google Slides. So I'm so obsessed with Google Slides. I use it obviously in my conference presentations like we're doing today. I use it in my COP meetings, and I use it with my students. So the whole idea of this idea that you can scroll and see other people's slides, I think is magical. And the fact that you can do it in person and online, I've just really been enjoying teaching this past year and a half using Google Slides. So thank you, Summer, for posting the link in the chat. That does conclude the presentation PowerPoint portion. And the rest of the time, I want to hear your ideas. And we are going to go ahead and go over to question number 3. So if you can find your personal Google slide. And I want to know, based on today's webinar, please name 1 to 2 ideas that resonated with you the most. And kind of a piggyback question off of that is, once you list your 1 to 2 ideas, I want to know, if you were to implement these ideas at your campus, what issues or concerns do you anticipate? Whether it's students on the whiteboards, they're not sure how to start, or whether it's how do I get students to teach each other. It might be anything from how do you do backwards design. I'm just really curious on what's stopping you. And I think it's crazy when instructors are hesitant, because it's the 360-degree whiteboards is the best part of teaching of all my entire career. I absolutely love it so much, and can never go back to traditional lecture ever again. So I do want to know if you guys have any hesitations. I want to try to help as much as I can to reassure you that it's going to be fine. So I am going to go ahead and mute my mic for, let's go ahead and do like 3 minutes or so that we can fill out this middle column. And if you have already filled out your middle column, this is the collaborative piece similar to our COP meetings. If you can, scroll to the digital whiteboard numbered after yours. So for instance, Elaine from Rio Hondo, she would scroll over to, I didn't get a name here, from El Camino College, but Elaine would go ahead and scroll over, like Sab would scroll over to Summer's Google slide and go ahead and comment a glow based on her ideas, but then also make a recommendation, a way to improve the possible issues and concerns that they may have. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic for, again, about 3 minutes. And I'm really excited to scroll around and see your responses. And I hope you do the same. Go ahead and take some time to scroll around. Okay, so I'm going to mute my mic starting right now. Hi, everyone. You're doing an amazing job with this. You guys just adapt so well. And you'll be surprised, the students adapt really, really well and very, very fast. So great job on all of your inputs. As you know, I have a lot of fun in class too, reading students' work, reading your input, and I love going around making comments on each digital slide as needed. Most of the time with my math students, I'm highlighting student work and also highlighting things in yellow. If they needed a sharp bracket versus a parentheses, I will highlight that in yellow and maybe make a comment where I first say, give them a glow, right? Great job on your work, but also careful with including the endpoints. So I will go around and usually make comments for my students as well. So great job for those who have included a photo as well. I really like the personalization. And I do this in the 360-degree whiteboards in person as well. They really write their names at the top of the whiteboard. And I feel like that really helps with building the community. I've had students tell me this was the first class that they knew all 36 students' names in the entire class, and that has never happened to them before. So it allowed them to get to know each other, care for one another. They want to help each other when they see their friend is stuck. And it just creates a really great learning environment. And so I wanted to take a look at some slides and see what you guys are thinking about, right? This idea of seeing all the thinking happening at once. And don't you guys agree that, let's say this was in paper form. Let's say I asked you these exact same questions in paper form. I would collect these forms and then the conversation would kind of be over, right? Because there's nothing visual to look at. And I think that that aspect of having that vertical visual, all the work, you can see everything happening at once, is something that, again, I can never go back to having students work on, just paper where it's just to themselves and nobody else can see it. And so I do want to highlight, let's see, I'm just on a random slide. Right now I'm on slide number 5. And this is a beautiful photo of College of the Canyons. I love that, it looks so like an advanced building. Hi, Sab Matsumoto from College of the Canyons, who is a math professor. And so far, based on his experience, he's seeing a review, Q&A, that sounds about right, like from homework, definitely a lecture in there, and then some group work. And so Sab, hi there. I was wondering if you would be willing to share the ideas that resonated with you and also some of the issues and concerns that you may have.
Let me put my headphone on here.
Hi, Sab. Sorry to call you, put you on the spot, but
that's okay. And here's another background. This is a parking lot of College of the Canyons right now. It's fall season has arrived, so that's my background. Okay, so I really enjoyed the erasable board idea. And for the reasons you mentioned, and I think that the whoever did the study, I think it's right on because as you said, when students are facing each other, they can't see each other's notes when they're facing each other. It's one is backward and upside down, and the erasable, the fact that they can just write whatever and they can just erase and not worry about any mistakes because I'm not like that. I don't get embarrassed about making mistakes, but many people are, many students are, especially the ones that lack self-confidence in the math classes. So I think that was really good. And then for number 2, the active, learning and teaching, I have always said to my calculus students, when you start teaching other people, you will learn so much more. Just like I have learned so much more calculus when I started to teach. And so I think that's a great idea. And so those are the 2 things that resonated with me in this conversation today. My concern, the first one is pretty an obvious one. Maybe if you have 35 students, is it possible to make sure that everybody participates, and do you have enough board space, especially when you have like large windows in certain classrooms? And of course you have to ask your school to purchase these boards, the whiteboards, and then students maybe not knowing how to begin. And I had in my mind, and maybe I can ask you this now very quickly, when you introduce like a brand new formula, like the the derivative or the product rule in calculus, students will not know how to even begin. So do you not want to lecture just to show them how to derive the formula and so on?
Yes. Great two comments and issues. I'm trying to think which one we should talk about first. I think the first one is actually a really good question because people think there's no way you can run this with 50 students. But we have the best of the best instructors in this Zoom right here. And if you guys have attended any CAP sessions, those gallery walks that they use with the poster paper has been well over 100 participants doing a gallery walk similar to 360-degree whiteboard. So you're right, it's definitely the classroom size that is the issue, but know that it works with even very large groups. We just need the space. And I think the one marker per group helps so that everyone fits nicely, so that if there's only one person standing on the board, it does fit a little bit better. And then your comment about students not knowing how to begin, absolutely a huge issue. And I think I had said replace lecture, but I should have really said mini lectures. I do give mini lectures, and I like how I can use any board that I want. So sometimes I can pop over to the back of the room, use that board to give a mini lecture, sometimes in the front. But a lot of the time, you'll be so surprised, even with derivatives in a Calc 1 class, you're gonna have one student who knows how to do it. You'll just be so surprised that there's always going to be one or two that know how to do, say, quadratic formula in an algebra class before you even teach it to them. And you can really hone in on that and allow that student to maybe show their neighbor and then have that neighbor share it to the whole class. So it's still a lecture, but it's not coming from you. It's really coming from within the students, really creating that knowledge. So thank you for these great questions. This has been a tough one of doing a lecture beforehand or not doing a lecture. And I try my best to see how it goes. And if nobody has seen derivatives, then I do a mini lecture for them. So great question. Thank you so much, Sab. Let's see if we can get one more person to share. And it's so funny because if we were in the classroom, you guys would be like hiding, right? To not be called on. But that's not the case with the whiteboards. I can see everybody's work and I can highlight amazing work. And so I just kind of clicked on a random. So hi there, Yoon. Yoon is from Los Angeles Mission College. And I like her kind of where she's at in her in the teaching, which is self-quizzes, review, Q&A, lecture, and then group work. So I like getting an idea of where faculty are in their kind of progression into something very innovative and very different, like 360-degree whiteboards. So hi there, Yoon. I was wondering if you were willing to share in maybe the last couple minutes so that we can have some time for Q&A. And I know there's a lot of Q&A questions. So hi, Yoon, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Yoon. Thanks so much for chiming in.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity.
Hi there. Yes, of course. I love sharing. This is my passion right now. So what are 1 to 2 ideas that resonated with you, and what were some of the issues that you were thinking about?
Right. This is my first time seeing a 360-degree whiteboard, and it has been very engaging and fun. So in order to incorporate this, at our department, definitely we will need faculty training. And at the same time, the challenging part is a lot of faculty are, in a way, used to the current modality of teaching, and it's just sometimes hard to motivate them and train them. It's like our students. Sometimes it's very challenging to motivate them to learn, right? So yeah, definitely if we can have guest speaker who can train us, or even if you can, right? If you're available to, visit our department and introduce, whiteboard, like more hands-on training, it will be wonderful. Another challenging issue that I can see is a lot of our faculty are concerned about the timing and pacing of the course. So yeah, I don't know whether we need to modify any, curriculum to adopt this collaboration for our students.
Absolutely. These are all really valid concerns that we faced at Citrus College as well. And pacing, we actually had a meeting with our calculus group for our pre-calculus curriculum to really pick exactly what they're going to need to know. And if we do backwards design, putting real life applications up front, I think we save a lot of time with doing a bunch of drill and kill problems. So that has really helped us with saving time. I feel the real life examples kind of hits everything you need to know versus doing, multiple problems over and over. And they really understand it better. So thank you so much, Yoon. And one thing I wanted to mention about faculty training is that all faculty have whiteboards right now, right? It's either one board or two boards. When I was reflecting back on my schooling, I had a lot of teachers actually have students up at the boards, and I'm sure you guys have too. Like, you really don't need all four. Of course, that's ideal, but even with two whiteboards, you can really get a lot of the students up on the boards. And if you were to try it on, say, like a review day, like you're reviewing for the final exam, have all the students go up on the board, even take a little tiny space on the board, they're able to put it all in, and you can run kind of like a mini version of this, and hopefully love it so much that you'll get two more boards on the back of the room and on the side of the rooms as well. It's so easy to implement, and the learning gains have just been through the roof in terms of what I'm seeing and what I'm witnessing in the classroom, and their smiling faces, and that they're so excited to share with somebody else because they understand it and they've never understood it before. So that has really been a game changer and such a delight. It's really made me love teaching again. So thank you so much, everyone. It is 4:55. Hi, Summer. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get or how to get all the questions in. So you can go ahead and take over from here.
Yeah, we have a few minutes if you want to open it up for any questions, if anyone wants to raise their hand or put a question in the chat.
Sure.
We should have said, write the question on the slide, right?
Well, technically these are, right? Technically they are questions, so it's good.
Okay, Michael has his hand up.
Great. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Sophia, good to see you.
Good to see you.
So this is a question more about the class you teach, the 6-unit pre-calculus with the 2-unit support. So as you know, I'm working with some colleges in the Inland Empire trying to implement similar strategies. And one concern that I'm hearing a lot is concern around financial aid, and having a big class like that impact a student's financial aid as a, and so faculty are concerned about that. Have you had any experience dealing with that situation?
I see. Yes, this is definitely an issue that has come up in the past, how 8 units is definitely a large chunk, and if they were to drop the course, it hurts their financial aid. But I do feel like this technique, I would apply this exact technique if it was in a 6-unit pre-calculus class. Literally any math class. I don't feel that it's fair if, the co-rec students get this awesome pedagogy and then the traditional pre-cal students don't get it. So I really feel that the 2-unit co-rec is great, right? Because we get chances for students to share, and we can dive deeper and allow more collaboration. But even if it were to go back to a 6-unit class, my teaching style would not change whatsoever. So I feel that it is a large unit count, but I would try to make it work for even a 4-unit math class, even a 6-unit math class. It's really my my go-to for the rest of my teaching career. And I really have to thank you, Michael, for even giving us the platform to do this. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. But it was all the faculty who made this happen. The magic in the classroom. It's so great to see it's been so successful.
Thank you.
Well, I do think we are just about out of time. Anything else, Sophia, before we wrap up?
Yes, please save this link, read all the comments. You're gonna be amazed by how brilliant your fellow colleagues are and their suggestions, and I'm gonna be reading them as well. So feel free to email me if you wanted to continue this conversation, and go ahead and use these as a template. I had mine up at the top. You just really select and erase, and you can totally use this in your online classes. Use it for a check-in, with your classes. Ask them, oh, what did you think about the reading? Let them have a few moments to type. You can utilize this Google Slides in so many cool ways, in English classes, history classes, any type of classes. And of course, in the classroom as well. English faculty have shared that they are using 360-degree whiteboards in person. And I'm just so excited that it's working for multiple disciplines. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you in the chat for your comments. I really, it's been such a pleasure to share my joy and passion with you guys. I really get excited every time I talk about this. So thank you. And hopefully you'll update me with how it's going if you guys do implement this at your colleges. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sophia. As an English faculty, I love hearing this, and I am definitely thinking about ways I can use. I may even borrow some of these slides. I really appreciate it. So thank you all for being here, and thank you, Sophia, for your hard work on the blog and on the webinar. We all really appreciate it. I will be sending an email shortly with a link to the blog, and we'll get the recording and all the slides up in just linked right there in the blog within the next few days. So they will be there for you. And I will also send a brief evaluation survey. So if you could fill that out, that would be fantastic. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Summer. And thank you, Myra. Bye, everybody.